I'm going to call the meeting to order of the Municipal Operations Committee at 7:01. I'm going to read the statement. In accordance with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, which extends the Governor's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, until March 31st, 2025, this meeting will be conducted both in person and virtually via Google Meets. A public hearing will be held by the Municipal Operations Committee on Tuesday, October 10th, 2023, at 7 p.m. to discuss the special town meeting articles listed below. The meeting may be recorded and may be broadcast live over SMAC and/or recorded for later broadcast. To participate via the internet or telephone as follows. Via Google Meets, https://meet.google.com/QAH-GTXW-HYI to join the public hearing by phone 1-484-696-5692, PIN 558443 370#. Next is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you are able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. We're going to elect the 2023 committee chairperson, and we normally have a vice chair. We have a secretary already who is not part of the committee. I'll accept nominations for chair.
Excuse me, Cindy, should you do a roll call first?
Sorry. Okay, roll call. Start with you, Scott.
Scott Heller, Precinct 4.
John DeStefano's Precinct 2.
People on the screen.
Michael Moran, Precinct 5.
And
Fran Bergniti, Precinct 6.
oh, Fran is here too.
I'm on the phone. I'm coming home from New Hampshire, so I have to log in by phone.
Okay, so that means we have 6.
Anybody else is on the phone?
And I didn't hear Ilona check in.
Hi, yep, Alona Perkins, on Precinct 7, I think. I'm sorry, I'm new to this.
Yes, you're Precinct 7. Yes, Alona, you're Precinct 7.
Thank you.
Were there any nominations for chair?
I nominate Cynthia Walsh.
Anyone else nominated? Close the nominations. We'll have a vote. Scott?
Yes.
John?
Aye.
Ilona?
Alona, you have to unmute yourself so you can vote.
Yes.
Michael?
Yes?
Fran?
Yes,
I vote for myself, so it's unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Do we have a nomination for vice chair? I haven't missed a meeting in 40 years, but bad things can happen. I guess that means there's no vice chair, Mr. Moderator.
Just keep yourself healthy, Cynthia, okay?
Well, I will keep myself available.
All right.
I can't promise healthy. Okay, I'd like to welcome the new members, Scott, Fran, and Ilona. Welcome. My goal is to do the hearings and vote so that this is it, the last meeting before the special. I would appreciate a motion to open the public hearing.
I second the motion.
Well, we need a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. What motion are you looking for?
Just say so moved.
So moved.
And somebody was a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. I guess what we'll do. Mr. Coulter, I understand you're here for 18 and 19?
Mr. Tisdale and I will be trading off all of the articles except for Article 10, which I'll sit
Are you here for 10 and 18 and 19?
We're splitting the articles, Madam Chair. It's not necessarily assigned to Mark or I, but for Article 10, I'll be sitting in the audience and not participating.
Okay. Well, then, so, Mark, you're going to be here for all the articles? Okay.
We both will be.
Okay, we'll start with Article 9 then.
Well, we'll make that one easy, Madam Chair. That article will be withdrawn by way of a little bit of information as to why. As you know, our building inspector, our manager of economic development, and Mr. Juffoon visited many of the town buildings and determined there are a few needs that need to be addressed pretty quickly, and we're going to do that within the budget. At the same time, we were awarded a $50,000 grant to do a comprehensive survey of all buildings, non-school buildings in the town. And by the time spring town meeting comes, we'll have that comprehensive plan along with costs for major construction to bring all buildings up to compliance. So in short, we're withdrawing this article and we'll bring it forth supported by that plan in the annual town meeting.
Thank you. If the members have no objection, we won't vote, but we'll note in the book that we took no vote as we were told the article was being withdrawn. Is anyone upset by that? Okay. So, Mr. Town Manager, you're going to be here for everything, including 18 and 19?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we'll just go in order. Article 10, purchase of 30 Porter Street property for town parking.
Madam Chair, in the spirit of full disclosure, the owner of that property is an old and dear friend of mine, and so I'll be abstaining from any discussion on this matter. Mr. Tisdale will take it from here. With your permission, I'd like to just sit in the audience.
You don't need my permission to sit in the audience, a public hearing. Mark?
Thank you very much. Mark Tisdale, Director of Development Services. Just a little summary on Article 10. It's the purchase of 30 Porter Street for $440,000. It's the property right next door to us, the house, if you're not familiar with it. It's right near the dumpster in that drive aisle between Town Hall and that property. Just to get out, the town manager already mentioned this. Again, the property, he's friends with the property owner, so he's recusing himself, which is the right thing to do. And the property owner is a former town manager, okay? So let's get all the politics out of this. Let's throw it out the door and let the engineer talk, because I usually don't discuss articles from a political standpoint. I just tell you what you can do with it, and it's up to you to decide if it's the right choice or not. In a nutshell, the property next door, again, $440,000. It's $400,000 to acquire the property, about $5,000 in due diligence, environmental assessment, and about $30,000 to $35,000 for the demo of the building. And then that also includes graveling, like where the foundation is. So it's a usable parking area. It does not include, at this point in time, any further development of that property. It will have to get designed and permitted as a parking lot, a paved parking lot. The area will contain 20 parking spaces, landscaping, everything that we would require for any private developer building a parking lot or commercial property in town, so I'll have to comply with zoning. The benefit to this, it was kind of interesting at one of my previous meetings talking about this. Everybody thought we were building this parking lot with 20 parking spaces, so the town employees do not have to walk about 300 feet down the road closer to town hall. They couldn't get it through their mind. The benefit to this is not that, although obviously from a personal standpoint it's a benefit, but it's not why we're doing this. There's two big reasons. First of all, it comes down to the property next door to the police station. There's two ways of looking at this. If you're in the mindset of saying the police station needs to be renovated, which it does, and expanded, what more sense does it make to do it on the property that's already on? Unfortunately, the property it's on is already locked in. They would need to go into the abutting property where the municipal parking lot is in the back. And most likely, because it's a secured area, the whole area gets locked down for parking to do a police station, employees, people doing business in that area. But if we're using those parking spaces, because we actually do need to use them, there's probably 5 inspection vehicles in that parking lot, and there's at least 5 to 10 to 15 employees that park in that parking lot every day, including me. I usually park down there. That's why I have a good idea of the number of people that park down there. Let alone people who are doing business in Stoughton, coming to town hall or the police station that can't find a parking space on the street. They park down there. So 15, 20 parking spaces are getting used daily down there. Some employees, because there's nothing against it, do park on the streets out here, which you can do, but you got to move your car every 2 hours, and it's inefficient. So by getting 20 parking spaces close to the town hall, it improves the ability to expand the police station on the abutting property, first of all, because now we can do that by getting the 20 parking spaces. Second of all, if you do not believe in the police station expansion going there and going somewhere else, say the armory's been talked about, different pieces of property, we could go through the whole process. We went through the fire station, and we know how fun that process was. We rather not do that. We'd rather keep it on that property. But if we did move the property somewhere else, it's always been talked about that piece of property with a police station on will be opened up for economic development. The town could open it up to the private sector. A developer could purchase it. And what makes that piece of property even more valuable is more land to go with it, which would be the abutting parking lot linked up with it. It's more usable space. Parking is prime real estate in this area. It makes perfect sense. For those two reasons is the reason why this makes sense next door. And I just love it. I mean, what we could do with this parking lot, I haven't talked to the town manager, we could just make it key coded so only town employees could park in it. That was a joke. Okay. So engineers have bad jokes, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, so that's in summary, that's the benefit to it. Again, the $440,000 is to purchase the property, to demo the building, and to do an environmental assessment on the property.
Thank you. The way we're going to do this is the people on the committee that are actually here in the building will ask their questions. Then we'll go to the people online Then we'll go to the audience, both in person and virtual. Do you have some questions, Scott?
I do, yes. Scott Heller, Precinct 4. So is this going to be like metered parking or anything? So this could basically be anyone popping in here?
Yes, and we don't have any metered parking spaces in Stoughton yet. But you bring up a good point that at the night, part of our economic development plan is to get some better uses in downtown. So these parking spaces can be utilized at nighttime for that purpose.
Are we going to be able to like enforce that, like commuters don't use this spot?
Yeah, so all our public parking spaces have 2-hour limits on them. So that's already enforceable. So if you're over there for over 2 hours,
You get ticketed?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That
And-
it?
Sorry, and then the last thing, does that include like the paving and lining and all that stuff, that cost, or no?
No, so that just includes a gravel parking lot pretty much at that point. But like I said, we would have to do we never like rolling the cost to build something entirely without knowing what that cost actually is. I think there's too many times at town meeting where somebody throws in a $200,000 build to build a parking lot when we haven't even designed and permitted the thing yet. So really, it might be $100,000, but just to be safe, I'm going to go to town meeting with $200,000. That's not fair to all of you for somebody to do that. So kind of the way I've attacked it in the past is I like to go for the design and permitting part, get you a real number on what that parking lot would cost, and then go to town meeting with that number.
Makes sense.
John, any questions?
Well, he answered my question, actually. I was just concerned about why it's going to be gravel instead of paved.
That's just temporary until we design and permit phase 2 of the project.
Okay, and I was also wanting to know, like, after hours parking. So anybody can park there after hours,
Yes, correct.
and the hours are 9 to 5, after 5 o'clock?
Right, so it would be non-town hall hours.
Okay, whatever the town hall is open that day.
Right.
I see, okay, thank you.
Any members on the screen? Ilona or Fran or Michael?
I don't, Alona, are you going to speak? I see
Nope,
you.
I'm all set.
Okay. I don't see anybody raising their hands, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
One
Anyone in the audience?
Yes, Mr. Feaster has raised his hand on the
Oh, on the
remote.
screen, okay. Mr. Feaster, I recognize you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and congratulations on your reelection. Through you to either the town manager or to the engineer, is there not parking that's down, I forgot where, I forgot the name of, on Railroad Street for employee parking?
I believe there's public parking spaces on Railroad Avenue. I believe there's, I think when you were there, Mr. Feaster, we did a parking plan, and there's about 25, 30 spaces over there for public.
Right. And that was where employees parked, as well as the parking lot that which is adjacent to the municipal lot, adjacent to the police station. And something else what I had put into effect so that the public would have access to the town hall was that the parking on up and around the building was restricted for employee parking. So employees had the parking spaces on Railroad Avenue. They had the parking spaces immediately behind the town hall, and then the municipal lot next to the police station. So it just seems to me for the town to be investing $440,000 for the purposes that have been stated, just does not seem an expenditure that this town should be undertaking. And I would hope that the committee would probe this, because I don't know how many employees now work in the town hall, but right there, we've probably talked about 40 spaces. And if there was some management of where the public could park by not allowing employees to park in the upper lot, that might alleviate the issue rather than, and lastly, I believe that this conversation came up with the Stoughton the Stoughton Housing Authority many, many years ago as well, as far as the purchase of that building. So I would like the committee to examine the utility of making this particular purchase. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Attorney Feaster. Anyone else online?
Madam Chair, I don't see anybody else raising their hand online.
Okay. We have a newcomer in the audience. Did you want to speak on Article 10? Okay. Did you have any response to the previous speaker's remarks?
Yes, I do. I appreciate the comment, Mr. Feaster. Again, yes, municipal employees could park in other municipal parking spaces, but again, those spaces are supposed to be utilized for private businesses that need those spaces. Additionally, in the area where the spaces are, additionally, the municipal parking lot we're referring to where employees park is about 300 feet down the road. Some of these municipal spaces are, thousand. I think the one we're talking about is probably a couple thousand feet away from Town Hall. In the winter, during the weather, in situations like that, that's a much larger walk, and kind of putting the people who work for the town every day in kind of a bad situation.
Thank you. Anyone else? I see someone. Would you come forward to a microphone? State your name and address, please.
Hello. Heidi Tucker, 264 Pearl Street. This is 30 Porter, correct? Okay. Mike, I'm just walked in, but I saw the presentation, I don't know, a couple weeks ago on TV. My question is, why is this property not in the category of eminent domain, like the hole in the center of town and the State Theater? Because it's pretty shabby and has been ever since I lived here, 2004.
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. Because usually eminent domain is utilized when you have somebody who's not willing and able to either develop their property or sell it to the town. This is a different situation where the owner actually is willing to sell it to the town. They've come in and asked if the town would be willing to purchase that property. So most likely, the way we would purchase the property is by a friendly eminent domain, because what that does is it cleans up any kind of title issues if there are things of that nature. So it would be eminent domain, but on the friendly side.
Thank you. There's a seat over here with a microphone. Did you have any other questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. Excuse me?
It would have been a comment, not a question.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to Article 12, Emergency Medical Services Life Safety Equipment. We complete the public hearing, then we vote.
Oh, I see.
Okay, Chief and Deputy Chief, would you proceed with your presentation, please?
Sure. Good evening, and thank you for having us. My name's Chief Michael Carroll, and Assistant Chief Maycumber. We come to you tonight on our article. It's really all geared towards emergency medical services, life safety equipment. These would be our, what we call monitors, our LifePak 15 cardiac monitors. And just a brief history of what happened as of recent is that one of these cardiac monitors, you probably would know them as defibrillators, but they're a lot more advanced than that. Had an issue on one call during a cardiac arrest. Luckily enough, our engine was also on scene, which also is a Class 5 ambulance that also had a monitor. ended up becoming, it was a success. There was, there was a save there. But what we learned there is when we brought in a technician from the company, realizing that what we used to just replace batteries, now there's years of service life to all the equipment. So myself and the assistant requested a deep dive into the years on all these pieces of equipment that we're requesting. The LifePack monitors, the Lucas device. That device is unbelievable. What it does is it continues compressions. As you can imagine, if being in Stoughton, it doesn't allow, a lot of these houses don't allow room for, somebody to be doing compressions while we're taking them down the third floor, or in some of the smaller hallways. We set this device, and you're getting true good compressions on a cardiac arrest. And then the stair chairs. Our stair chairs have a manufacturer life of 7 years. All our stair chairs are 16 years old. Sit there, we use them, they work fine, but it's one of those things, if one was to fail, as you know, the attorneys would be tearing that stuff apart. So we thought it would be, since it's well over double its life, to request to replace the stair chairs. So we come to you. I understand the timing, and I understand the need, the purpose of special town meeting, but the world doesn't stop. These things happen, and luckily enough, we were able to. There was scheduled a special town meeting, and we thought this was important enough to request this. So I'll answer any questions.
Thank you. Does your assistant chief have any additional comments?
Of course he does.
Yes, thank you. Just to add to what Chief Carroll said, we're requesting 3 new cardiac monitors. Our current cardiac monitors are 3 generations behind, so we're going to get the latest and greatest of technology. 2 Lucas devices, which are the mechanical compression CPR machines, like Chief Carroll said earlier, and 3 stair chairs. As you can appreciate, all of this equipment is used for our most vulnerable population. The cardiac monitors, the Lucas devices, and the stair chairs. We all use them regularly, and we don't want to wait until there's a catastrophic failure of any of the devices to then decide to replace it. Thank you.
Questions, Heidi?
Hi. So we're getting this equipment for Cedar Hill. Are there any other public?
Wrong article.
Oh, sorry.
We'll
Forget it.
use them at Cedar Hill if we need to.
Okay,
No,
okay.
I'm just kidding.
So I was thinking that the adaptive or the equipment was all around. So I just want to make sure they're at other public spots in Stoughton.
No, so these are the ones that are on the ambulance and the engines that when we
Okay.
respond as paramedics to,
Okay,
they're the equipment we bring in.
thanks.
John?
John DeStefano, Precinct 2. What do you plan on doing with the old devices once you get the new ones?
Yeah, that's a great question. So my original submitted cost was $178,988. What we were able to do, and sometimes this is just, it takes some time to do, so I followed that up with sitting with these companies and using those as a trade-in. As you know, there's actually a company up on Technology Drive, I believe, that they take old medical equipment. This isn't the one we do, but what they were able to do is kind of clean out all the components and update them that way, and then sell them, I suppose. So we're using it as a trade-in, which brought the price down to $147,975.
So they're basically refurbished.
Ours won't be, but we are using, that's what I believe they do with them, is they take them and they refurb them. We use those as a trade-in to get the cost down.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you for the
Scott?
question.
So you're Scott Heller, Precinct 4. Good, how are you? So you mentioned like they're sort of out of compliance, basically, right? because they're expired.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're out of compliance. We do a good job of maintaining them. They're daily checks, that and the defibrillator pads, the gels. What we noticed here was the misfire created OEMS to have us launch an investigation as to why. And as we started doing this investigation, is why did this? I mean, this is something we take very serious. It was followed up by policies, and kind of changing the way in which we operate operations. And so I put out a directive right away, and then we went through. But what I'm really concerned about, more so than anything, is it not working when it needs to work. And then as we're sitting with the manufacturers, they're like, these are old, and they're out of their manufactured life use, which raised a lot of bells, because we are typically good at monitoring and keeping, no pun intended, but keeping our equipment organized and at the ready. But the problem was should it not fire or should it malfunction and the engine wasn't there, that's catastrophic.
Yeah.
So we took did a good investigation, and we found that there's a couple things that we really need to update.
Yeah. I don't want to be misunderstood. Like I was saying, you're out of compliance.
No.
No, because I'm concerned like the liability. Right. So that's the problem.
Scott, yep.
So I'm kind of curious. So one, like, I'm assuming there's a warranty on these kind of things, and then second, like, is there a lot of other equipment that sort of runs into this?
So this is, if you remember, I went during last town meeting, I went for a software purchase, which the town meeting approved. Aside from Excel sheets, and even before we got into our positions, there wasn't a lot to go on. We have been nonstop doing inventory, but now this will all be brought up in the new software, so it will notify us when something is out of its years of use. And right now, I would say that this was surprising to me, but we were able to catch it. There hasn't been any catastrophic or critical gaps, but we want to catch it before it does. And we are updated all on Excel, but this will be nice to have it all under one umbrella as one software. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. And then there's like a warranty. These things are covered?
Yeah, so these are obviously out of it because some of them are more than double.
Yeah.
There's always a service warranty, and we'll even continue that. Like we'll continue with Stryker is the company. We continue our service warranties. But as far as the equipment, yeah, we were out of the warranty on that. And just to be clear, the misfire was they weren't able to reproduce it. We're thinking it was on the gel that was used on the pads. They're really done, so we've changed who we buy our defibrillator pads from as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any members on the screen?
Madam Chair, I don't see any no committee members have raised their hands.
Okay. Members of the public?
Madam Chairman, I have another question.
Okay.
Right here.
All right.
No, right here.
Yes, John.
It says prices effect for 30 days. 30 days from when?
So
Town meeting?
So I called them and spoke to them on that. I guess when they, that's kind of standard, always goes out. It's almost like the computer automatically does the 30 days. We're locked in at that. So it's not good for only 30 days, that quote, and then, is that what?
Well, I was just concerned because I didn't know when this was put together, so I don't know how much of the 30 days we had left.
So I was assured by our rep and the company that 30 days, do not pay attention. We are locked in. They gave us a quote, we're locked in, so it's not going to increase.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
I checked, I saw that as
All
well.
right.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Good catch.
Members of the public?
Mr. Feaster has raised his hand, Madam Chair.
Attorney Feaster?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I didn't state my address, which is required earlier. I reside at 301 Palisade Circuit, Stoughton.
Thank you.
I simply want to say to the chief, I want to thank you and the members of the fire department for their service. This seems to be a no-brainer since we want to provide the type of protection that is necessary for citizens of the town who may be in cardiac arrest. So I think that this is certainly one which this committee should put forward favorably so that you can do the appropriate work that you have consistently done in this town. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words. Anyone else in the audience? Gentlemen, I'm going to skip over Article 14 and go to 15 because that may involve you also. This is the fire alarm system upgrades at Cedar Hill. And for everyone, you should know that the Cedar Hill is an enterprise fund, and they have receipts reserved, and they have over $200,000. So the money for this article will come out of the Cedar Hill Enterprise Fund Reserve. Did you have a presentation, or are you just here for questions?
I will do both if you, I think Paul Jafun, unless. It's on what? Yeah, no, I know what they were asking. I didn't know whether there was a presentation you want to do or, okay. So I'll just do a quick summary of, I was requested by the building inspector to look into the fire alarm system. It's been an antiquated system for some time now. We've gone there on, just recently when I was on the truck, it was a few years ago, but you know, a small little fire in one of the new vending type, I think it was a music machine or something. But even trying to reset that system, understanding that there's no fire protection in the attic, which is of grave concern to me, because this Cedar Hill, luckily enough for the town, has become popular, not only for golfing, but also, you know, for entertainment. And, you know, they have a like two-piece music group and also serve food, which has been bringing in quite a few people, which makes me a little nervous on, you know, is the music too loud for the system? The attic is not protected. There's actual machineries. I think there's an AC and heating unit up in the attic with no notification if there was a fire, a smoke detector, heat detector. No one would know, and we all know the stories of, you know, Rhode Island quite a few years ago, but it's important. The system doesn't cover the whole building. It's changed as far as, you know, it's really grown for a restaurant or serving food. And their ductwork is all good, it's brand new. Their hood, their grease, everything's good, but their fire alarm system. What I had requested when I went in is a revamp of the fire alarm system, so there's good protection. What's more important is their technology has changed so that we can put a relay in, or not us, but the installers of the fire alarm system, that will automatically lower the whatever's, whether it's a jukebox or whether it's a you know, two-piece band, would lower the volume automatically the minute the alarms went off, so everybody would hear the alarms. We got a quote, went with Paul Jafun, we walked through with the vendor, and gave us a good quote, I believe, to do it really well. You know, it's just looking out for the public.
Thank you. Scott?
Is there a sprinkler system in the?
No, if they did go above 100 and wanted to become a quote-unquote nightclub, it would need that sprinkler system, which would be, you know, a heavy lift, you know, and expensive. You know, from what I understand, they don't necessarily want to go up and above. Change occupancy is really what the code is. But to fit what they need now, they at least have to start with the fire alarm system.
Thank you.
Sure.
John?
I have no questions.
Heidi?
Heidi Tucker. I have a question. Are there redundancies that are built into this system? And the reason I ask is because I was the person who called at 4:12 in the morning the other day about the high school fire alarm.
Okay.
I was the only one who knew about it.
Okay, so I apologize. This is the first time I'm hearing that, and we had a problem that the antenna and this was a year ago when I went up with Joyce was saying this, sorry, side note, but it's important people know, the antenna to the master box, we get a signal, the master box is supposed to notify dispatch. It wasn't going through. This was about a year ago. I went up there with Joyce Hussein, who's facilities for schools, and found that during one of the storms, the antenna for that had been knocked down. I will follow up with that. The redundancy, the system works pretty well. What I think and what we're gonna see happen in January, I believe, is everything's gonna start going to a central alarm company. It will no longer go to dispatch. The central alarm company is usually, and our dispatchers do great, it's not about that, it's about servicing the equipment and staying on it. So, the redundancy built in, it will have the local, and we don't just rely on the signal. Also, side note, while the regional dispatch is running fiber optics throughout town, I asked them to hook up to Cedar Hill and run all new fiber optics for the fire alarm there. So I think that it's gonna be a solid system, and then that is backed up with microwave. So the redundancy will be built in by us or through the 911 regional dispatch. But, local alarm, we don't just rely on phone calls. So, and I appreciate you calling the other night. I got to look into that. Thank you.
It was purely coincidental that I was up.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Is that it? Members on the internet?
Madam Chair, I don't see anybody raising their hands yet.
Members of the audience?
Any public online? Have a question? No, Madam Chair.
Pardon me?
No one online has a
Okay,
question.
thank you, gentlemen, for
Thank you.
sharing your evening with us.
Oh, it's enjoyable, actually.
I hope someone noticed that after June, July, and August, I skipped September for my ambulance ride.
Yeah, we did notice. It's noted. We have a whiteboard up.
I lost some points there. Okay, we're going to go back to Article 14, the truck for the Public Works.
Madam Chair, through you.
Yes?
This truck for Public Works is to replace two large-scale rack trucks with hydraulic tailgates, and it's specifically purposed for the solid waste program that began October 1st. The reason Mr. Jaffoon is asking for this at a special is because the program just took effect October 1st. He couldn't have asked for it last year because we didn't know about this program. We were limping along with two 23-year-old rack trucks that often need repair. And we could do that because we only picked up solid waste one day a week. Once this program gets up and running, we'll be picking up solid waste all 5 days of the week. We're no longer throwing it in the back of a rubbish truck. So that's the reason for the urgency, that's the reason for the expenditure. And Mark, do you have anything to add?
I have nothing to add, but I'm not sure if, Paul, you want to say a word or two on this? Yep.
That's great.
Sure, thank you. Thanks, Mark. So like the town manager said, this is really necessary because of the new program we just started. We're gonna be picking up the bulky solid waste and metal white goods more often with the new program, and we've already been doing so for the last 2 weeks. And Also, like the town manager said, we have 2 rack trucks. One, the one that this will replace is a 1997, and the other one that we'll continue to use is a 1999. So they're old and tired, and they don't owe us anything, so it's time, as we start this new program, have some nice equipment to do it with. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Scott?
What are you doing with the old ones?
Paul, can you answer that? I believe we're auctioning off one of them. Is that the case?
We will be at the next auction. Want the newer of the old ones will remain
Right.
in use.
So we'll be auctioning off one and keeping that as a backup.
Correct.
Thank you, Paul.
Cool.
Anything else, Scott?
No.
Heidi?
I know in the past, we've had like a spreadsheet of how we're using vehicles, when we're phasing them in because of the time used and the mileage, and there's some fantastic formula. Is this a part of that, or is this something new because of our new trash program?
Heidi, this is new because of the new trash program. If that program exists, I have not seen it. I've asked to do this auction. We're auctioning off 27 pieces of equipment that have been underutilized or not utilized at all in several years. And so that's happening the last Saturday of this month. Our goal is to auction off or trade in old equipment every day under Paul's leadership. And so, but to answer your question specifically, this truck is a direct result of the new program. If we have 2 23 and 27-year-old trucks that are broken down all the time, it's difficult to commit to pick up somebody's solid waste on Thursday, not knowing if it's going to break down on Wednesday. So we need at least one reliable new vehicle, and so that's the direct reason we're doing it. Otherwise, we'd limp along with 2 old trucks, knowing that one day a week, at least one of them would be working.
Yeah, one of them was broken down in front of my house before, and I was horrified.
There you
'cause
go.
I thought it was because of me.
Thank you.
It was a normal light trash week, so thank you.
John?
John DeStefano, Precinct 2. Do we get more for the trucks in an auction or a trade-in?
It's different, and it's driven by the age of the truck. If you're doing a trade-in, something 27 years old, they tell you to just scrap it. When you run an auction, you're going to find, let's call them connoisseurs, who are also mechanics, who believe that they can turn that over and make it useful for another 5 years. For us, it would cost a small fortune.
Or they take it for parts?
Or they take it for parts.
Okay, thank you.
Any members on the internet?
Any members online, please raise your hand or signal by unmuting yourself. Madam Chair, I don't see anybody.
Anyone in the audience?
Anybody online from the public would like to speak? The answer is no, Madam Chair.
Okay, we'll move on to Article 16, roadway resurfacing.
Madam Chair, Paul's going to go through the detail of the plan, but 16 and 17 are tied together in many ways. Both needs, underground and surface resurfacing, are considered throughout the year by Paul and our department head in water and sewer. So there's a comprehensive plan for water and sewer and a comprehensive plan for streets that are very much tied together based on demand. With that, Madam
Okay,
Chair, turn it over to
Chairman's
Paul.
prerogative, we're going to discuss Articles 16 and 17 together.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Anybody? Or do you just want questions?
Paul, would you like to talk about how you and Phil have come up with your list of streets and his list of underground construction? Because that's always a big question.
Yes, I would. I was just about to ask Ms. Walsh if she'd like me to give a brief presentation.
Yes, if you have a presentation for 16 and 17, fire away.
Okay, so we'll start with 17, which is the water mains. Any old mains that need to be replaced, not just services, but the actual mains and the services to go along with them need to be replaced. So in the same area of town, we need to do some paving, so that's why we thought we would kind of combine these two. So down off the Central Street area, I don't have the list of water main, the streets for the water main projects in front of me, but I know that's where they are, up the Central Street by Cobb's Corner area. Also, again, as I mentioned, really need to be paved. So after we do the water work, the intent is to already have the funding in place to just go ahead and bid and pave and be done with it. So that's the thing with the water mains. The other streets that are listed here to be paved come from the estimated costs in the 2019 column that you can see on your list are from our pavement management plan that was last done in 2019. So 4 years old now, going to be 5 by the time we can hit the construction season. So we've added 25% to the cost, the estimated costs, and come up with those figures. But these streets, again, are certainly ones that are really in need to be redone. And I know the questions come up, well, what about my street? What about this street? There are a lot of factors as to why these ones are chosen, most of which are the fact that they're utilized more than others, and they're in the same neighborhoods that we're doing some other underground utility work and or paving already. So we'd like to combine them into smaller projects and take that approach for years to come.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Coulter?
Madam Chair, the committee members may ask, why are we doing this at a special? We're seeking a policy change that the board supports. I won't speak on behalf of the Finance Committee, but they stated they understand the reasoning. By putting this at the annual in the spring, by the time we get the funding and the bonding, it's already October. So we're hurrying to finish the streets as we sit here this evening, as we're on the eve of November. And we have very little leverage with respect to buying out materials and supplies because we have the immediate need at a time when their inventory is at an all-time low. So we're being charged a premium. So we're asking that a policy change be made that we do these streets and underground at the special or the fall town meeting so that we can get it bonded, get the financing involved before the construction season begins. That allows us to get better pricing on materials and supplies. It allows us to do our work at the beginning of the construction season and not always be at a race to the finish line at the end of the construction season. So if passed, these two articles will not be on the annual. We will bring them forth again the following year at the special. I'd ask Mr. Jaffoon if he'd just give you some statistics that he has stated in the past as to how many miles of roads we have. I think you have it in front of you, but the public may not have it. How many roads we have versus how many miles of roads over the past couple of years we've done or we plan to do?
So we have 212 road miles. We have 397 streets. In one calendar year, we've paved 49 streets. So we're off to a good start. I believe this list is 27, maybe. I'm not sure. 20. I could count that, but. So we're going to have about 70 streets paved, hopefully within 18 months. And I don't think we've ever done that as a town. I think that we're headed in the right direction. And I'd like to thank town meeting and your committee and other committees as stewards of this program to really identify that our roadways are an issue, and we do need to make the investment in the infrastructure, like I said, for years to come. And we will catch up. We just have done so little for so long that it's time to be aggressive with these streets and get them done.
Thank you. Heidi?
I don't have any questions, but I just have a comment of just thank you for doing the upgrades and the improvements before you do the final paving, because that's a frustration I have, living off of Central and Pearl. So thank you.
Thank you. John?
My concern is, I think the biggest issue in town right now is Central Street between Pearl Street and Tosca Drive. Now, I understand that is a state-funded project. To this day, I have no idea what they're doing in front of the Wilkins School. Is that on track? to be-
Okay, that's not germane to either of these two
Well,
articles.
it's part of the highway.
I know, but it's not germane to either of these.
Okay.
Those questions could be answered by calling any of these gentlemen. Okay?
Okay.
Scott?
Yeah, first I want to say thank you guys for all that work. I've seen all the newly paved streets, and it's definitely nice to not be swerving around potholes and things, so that's awesome. Thank you guys. And then personal note, just thank you for putting those streets, the signs on Plain Street near my street. That's awesome. Those things are great. So thank you. And it's been quiet there, so that's awesome. So my question is about when you are paving these streets, that is we're under the assumption that the pipes underneath those streets are not in need of repair like anytime soon?
They either were in need of repair and were repaired at the time we're paving, before that, or they're in good shape.
Okay. All right, cool.
Any of our members on the internet?
Committee members online, please raise your hand if you have a question or a comment. Madam Chair, I don't see anybody.
Anyone in the audience on Articles 16 or 17? Okay, I'm going to move on to 18 and 19. Mr. Coulter, would you like to do these together or separately?
Yes, ma'am, if we could do them together, that would be helpful.
Okay, Chairman's prerogative, we'll do Articles 18 and 19 together. Shoot.
So, Madam Chair and members, as you know, these two sites are the Hole in the Ground, as we fondly call it, and the State Theater. The Hole in the Ground has been there for approximately 14 years, and the State Theater has been deteriorating and rotting right under our eyes for about the same amount of time. On August 1st, Mr. Tisdale and I called the owner of both properties. We told them that their lack of action on these two properties was causing a drag on our downtown development. We know that because we hosted, under Mr. Cavey's leadership, a legislative delegation in my office prior to the August 1st date. And the congressman came in and he said, what is with the hole in the ground? And what is with the dilapidated building in the center? You're never going to be able to pull people into the center of town if you don't take care of it. Shortly thereafter, Mark and I called the two owners. The owner of the hole in the ground said he had no plans for building at that time because of the high interest rates and because of the inflationary impact on construction. We informed him that if that's the case, we would ask town meeting to consider exercising our rights of eminent domain to take those properties, that property. That same day, we had a conversation with the owner of the State Theater. And he indicated that he had absolutely no plans for that property, and that was that. There was no plans for that property. So we informed him of our plans to ask town meeting members to take that property by eminent domain. Now, we're not builders and we're not developers. So what would the plan be? It's a plan that over 100 communities in Massachusetts are using. It's a plan that, when implemented, pulled the city of Chelsea out of receivership and has made it one of the wealthiest suburban cities around the city of Boston. And it has to do with development rights. If we take those properties by eminent domain one day, in the case of the hole in the ground, we would take it, we would redesign it if necessary to meet the community needs, and then we would put it up for sale to the highest bidder. Since we've been informed that he's got no plans, Mark and I have notified a half a dozen well-known developers and builders, telling them that that site could be taken by eminent domain. And we also told the owner of the property that it's on the town meeting warrant. What that is causing is ongoing dialogue between developers and the owner of that property about selling that property to a developer that will begin immediately, because that's controlling our own destiny. The problem is, and the opportunity is, that the developer is appraising his value of his property at $1.5 million. With our own internal appraisal by our appraiser downstairs, we appraise it at market value. He's perhaps valuing it at whatever he's into it for, which may or may not have been related to that project. So we appraise it at a little under $600,000. So we are in the unique position of taking the property for market value and then flipping it to a developer that'll start construction right away. With respect to the State Theater, he values it at $1.9 million. Our appraiser downstairs has put the market value at somewhere, or the appraised value somewhere about $750,000. We're not in the business of developing, but we do have the leverage as a town to control our own destiny. We're going to withdraw these two articles for the spring, for the fall town meeting. And the reason we're doing that, on the advice of town council, we can't just have an appraisal from our appraiser downstairs. We have to have a very elaborate $7,000 per unit appraisal. Otherwise, if you don't follow all the steps, you lose your right of eminent domain. So we're going to ask that we withdraw this, bring it back at the annual, by which time we'll have the appraisals we need to go through that process. And it is our sincere hope that the owner of both properties takes our proposed plan seriously and negotiates very aggressively and actively with a developer and a builder that can develop those sites downtown. Our first desire is to not take it by eminent domain. Our only recourse, if we don't want to go another 15 years with that downtown, our only recourse is to take it by eminent domain and then entitle the theater project. What does that mean? Once we take it and we tear it down, and I'm talking about the one building, not the storefronts. Once we take it and tear it down, we'll look for guidance from our town planner, from the planning board, from town meeting, as to what they'd like to see on that site. With Mark's leadership and the talent in Mark's department, we would design and permit the proposed building for that site. An entitled property, one that's fully permitted and shovel-ready, we believe we could double or triple the amount of money we invest in that project. So all we're doing is priming the pump by taking action that is the only action within our control. So it'll be up to town meeting at the annual, but the alternative is to let it sit there for another decade or more. Now, having said that, the legislative briefing we had in my office with the congressman, it's unrelated, Madam Chair, if you'll indulge me just a bit on this to see how this fits in. We're asking the United States Postal Service to move their post office to another town-owned property and make that a green open space, a park. That can never happen unless those other properties are developed. Nobody's going to make an investment. I don't think the town will make the investment. So we have to get those projects moving. This mechanism of eminent domain, which we're withdrawing this evening, is the only mechanism in our toolbox to force that type of development and that type of immediate action. Thank you for indulging me, Madam Chair.
Mr. Tisdale?
I think Town Manager Calta put it well said. I mean, essentially, our first game plan is to have the private sector develop the property. That's what we want. We do not want to take this to, we don't want to have to manage this project. We want the private sector to do what the private sector does best. And I think that's the route we're going right now. Since we've had this on this warrant as an article, there's been a lot of discussion, more than ever, between developers for those two properties. So hopefully it just keeps on rolling into something positive for the town.
Okay, even though this is going to be withdrawn, I will allow questions. Just don't get too far afield. Heidi?
Well, now I'm worried I'm going to be too far afield. If I remember correctly, and I might not, because I've only been updated so every so often with the hole in the center of town, it seemed like, and I don't even know this is true, but it seemed like there were problems with the zoning, and then there were problems with the, what is it? I don't, other stuff. And it was being delayed. So at the risk of sounding sloppy, is there a possibility, so when somebody does come in, that building can be quote unquote fast-tracked so that it can be completed? Because it seems like there's just one obstacle after another, and it's just been this painful thing to watch and to talk about all the time.
Yeah, I share your pain on that one, Heidi. I've been here for 13 years, and apparently that building burnt down 2 years before I started. To see that as an eyesore for that long is just disheartening, especially right outside my window. I look at it every day. In a nutshell, there's always been an excuse, right? The excuse of, COVID, the schmood, the zoning. Well, all those are done, right? So COVID's done. The schmood, we redid the zoning to give the biggest impact and benefit to developers doing work on their properties. I mean, if you own several properties next to each other, you can actually put more on those properties now. You can go up higher. You can do different things. With this property, that happened. The zoning change occurred, and he went in front of the planning board and actually went up 5 feet in height with the building, from a 40-foot building to a 45-foot building. They give him 2 more feet of ceiling clearance on that first floor where the commercial is, and then 1 more foot in each of the residential floors above that. Went through that. That was an excuse, right? Delayed it because we're re-permitting my project. Great, but it sounded great because who's going to spend this much money with engineers to draw up new plans if they're not going to do anything? Apparently this person. So they spent the money, they re-permitted it, said steel was going up, sort of made town manager and I look a little awkward at many meetings because that was the message we were told about steel going up. We delivered the message and it was incorrect. We recently got an email from the developer saying they're not doing it.
Meaning the steel was being
Meaning the steel was going to be erected, yeah, by this time, actually by today. So it's not happening, so.
Okay, anything else, Heidi?
No, thank you.
John?
My question is, if the town takes the theater by eminent domain, you have no interest in refurbishing the theater part, just the storefront?
Madam Chair, we're not developers. So I think what will happen if the town supports this is we'll seek guidance from town meeting members and from the planning board, the town planner, as to what the highest and best market use is for that property. Let's say hypothetically, pardon me, let's say hypothetically they say they want a theater. And we'll ask our planner to do some market analysis to determine whether that is an opportunity or will it not be utilized in the center of Stoughton where we have parking and traffic problems. So the first thing we do is seek town input. Second thing we do is test the feasibility of that type of project. If there's consensus in the town and there's a market for that type of activity, we'll design it, we'll tear the building down, we'll permit it, we'll make it shovel-ready, and then we'll put it out to bid. And based upon what we're seeing in entitled projects right now, as I said, the market value is generally 2 to 3 times the land cost if you've permitted it and it's shovel-ready for the developer.
Well, I know the creator, as you want to call it, is probably like the #1 topic in town.
It is.
So I'm glad the town's going to do something about it. Thank you.
It's a strategy. It's a strategy. We've given this presentation between other committees, and they say, we don't believe the town should be in the business of buying properties and reselling them. And I could make that argument as well. What's the alternative? If the owner decides it's going to sit there for 15 years, longer, we have zero recourse. Now, with respect to the second property, the theater, we're getting very close to reaching a point where the building needs to be condemned. And if that's the case, we have some options. But we don't on the hole in the ground unless we take control of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Scott?
So the, Scott Heller, Precinct 4. The State Theater is very dear to my wife's heart. She grew up here and worked there. And when she sent me here this evening, it was to hopefully hear something better than that. I know that there was an effort years ago to try to refurbish and rebuild it. Is that basically completely off the table now? Like, is it at the point of no return with the possibility of it being condemned?
What happens, Scott, is the effort has been a noble effort, a private sector noble effort. But the more money they raise, as they take more time to raise money, the building becomes unstable and further dilapidated and close to being condemned. And it's getting to the point where the only remedy for that is to tear it down and decide what you want to build there. Maybe it's a theater, but at some point in time, a building is dead. Yeah. That building is near death.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any members on the internet?
Ops would like to speak, raise your hand. I see no one, Madam Chair, but I do see a public, member of the public that would like to speak.
Members of the public?
Mr. Feaster has his hand raised.
Mr. Feaster?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Joseph Feaster, 301 Palisade Circle. I want to just say to the town manager and to the, title is more than the town engineer, but in terms of, I am so pleased to hear this, and I've stayed on at this meeting because this has been something that's been near and dear to my heart for some time. Not only with that space where the fire took place and the hole in the ground, the theater, and the post office, where we had meetings with the congressman and others many years ago to try to get the post office to relocate. I just want to say, Mr. Town Manager, I represent developers. I've been practicing 47 years, and in Boston, I represent developers and in other cities and towns. And I just take issue with the advice from town council in this respect. I don't see why you cannot keep these two articles on for this special town meeting, get the support of town meeting, and then do your appraisals. As I listen to you, no, internal appraisals would not be sufficient for eminent domain. You would have to get external appraisals to meet this, the statutory requirement. But I don't see a reason why you would, in effect, squander this time here between now and the meeting in April, when you could get the support of them, do the work that's necessary, and then come back with a full proposal. I too agree with you that that if you would have let developers know, and if I can be helpful in circulating that, because I represent many of the major developers in Massachusetts who might be interested in that. And certainly jumpstarting that project as well as the theater would be helpful. The theater site would be helpful in terms of making our downtown a point of destination. So would be willing to be supported, but I just want to put on the record, I would have you query town council as to why you can't go forward with these warrants at the special meeting. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Attorney Feaster.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Feaster, thank you for those comments, and Mark and I will take you up on your offer. Any developers you can send the owner's way, we'd be happy to provide for them plans, specs, everything that is now in the public domain to expedite the process. If we were not getting activity on the two sites, I think, Joe, we would be moving forward at this town meeting and taking control of it. As Mark and I have both said, we don't want to be in the building business. I don't think Stoughton wants to be in it. So we're trying to let the market work. That was part of the reason. It's not fully because we didn't have the appraisal yet. We're trying to let the market conditions work, and if developers and builders come forward and make a deal with those owners, we're all better off. But if that interest dies out by the time the springtime comes, then if town meeting approves, we'll move forward very aggressively. And I want to tell you, I greatly appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I just one more, just as a follow-up, dear Mr. Town Manager, if I can get that information on that, there are some developer vehicles and organizations that I can get it to, because I would like to see the downtown improved, and in a situation whereby maybe the private sector can step forward in order to do that. I know one of my colleagues from Dane Torpy, RJ Lyman, is doing some projects right here in the town of Stoughton at the present time. So I would like to get the information, and I can either contact your office or contact the town engineer in order to get that information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Feaster, if I could just comment, please just send me a quick email tomorrow requesting any plans, planning board decisions, specifications, whatever you need on that project, and I can forward it along. It's public record.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you both.
I'm sorry, I have one more question. Are these properties currently like on the market?
It was only on September 1st that both owners informed us. September 1st, the hole in the ground, he informed us it was full scale ahead. It was only 3 weeks ago, I believe the letter's in your package, where he notified us that he's not moving forward. So whether they put them on the market or not is up to them. We don't have standing on that. My hope is that our actions will cause them to market them very aggressively. And Mark and I are just trying to do everything we can to create activity, market activity for those two owners. Sitting on it for another 10 years just isn't an option.
Sure. And then, so kind of leveraging them here a little bit, right? So can this be changed to like an article to like do the appraisal to sort of push them? You can't change
The warrant can't be changed now.
No.
But we do have the money in our operating budget to do the appraisal.
To do it. Okay. All right.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on to Article 21, Municipal Charges Lien.
Let's do one before that. Okay, yes. So, Madam Chair, I'd ask that we, that one and the, so that's the lien. They only have that one. Okay. This goes hand in hand with one that you're not hearing this evening, which is the new bylaw that gives the beautification program, the rubbish program, the teeth it needs to enforce the new guidelines. This lien is purely the vehicle that needs to be passed in order to be able to lien property where fees or penalties are imposed, and that it will have the same effect as a water and sewer lien. So this is just simply the mechanism to collect monies imposed as a result of violations on the bylaw change that precedes this on the warrant.
Thank you. Scott? John?
No questions.
Heidi?
No questions.
Any members on the internet with questions?
Any committee members on the internet? Please raise your hand if you have any questions or comments. I see none, Madam Chair.
Any members of the audience? I see Mr. Jaffoon. Did you want to make a comment? Say no.
No, I'm
Okay.
just here if anyone has any questions, Madam Chair.
No, there aren't any questions on this one. We'll go to Article 22, implementing a Town of Stoughton communication program.
Madam Chair, this article is put forth by Select Board Member Lou Gito. It's based upon his position that, like the schools, who have a very effective community communications program, and like the library that's got its own communications program, that the town must implement a communications program forthwith that reaches out proactively, better than we are right now, to communicate everything from town meeting warrant articles to budget details, and to give information and get information. And his evidence is fairly empirical. By our best estimate, in spite of 6 public information sessions conducted in this room for the solid waste and rubbish program, by our best estimate, based upon calls that have come in, the vast majority of Stoughton residents knew nothing about it when it took effect on October 1st. And so the discussion between other boards and committees is this an appropriate article to bring forth at a special? Mr. Gito makes a passionate argument that communication is and should be a priority, and what he's asking for in this article is that we spend some money to further update a new website to make it more user-friendly based upon input received from some citizens, number one. Number two, train employees with some advanced training so that they can load up their page. Unlike the library, unlike the schools, we've got 23 departments. It's a big job, and it's an ongoing requirement to stay current. And the third is to hire a full-time communications professional who works full-time being proactive and reaching out to the community. Mark, did I miss anything?
You got it.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Heidi?
I totally get what you're saying, because I'm an admin for 2 pages in town, and I personally have made several announcements, and then when October 1st rolls around, everybody's like, oh, what happened? So I do what I can. So my question is how is what you're talking about different than the town crier that comes out? And those are things that don't get reposted. Like, I'm not reposting that every week. I can only do so much. But I agree, communication is an issue, and I do think we need somebody to ramp it up and do something different. I don't know what that is, because I'm not a communication major. But like, how is that different than the town crier and what we're currently doing? I don't know if updating the website is gonna make people log on and go to the website.
I agree with you. So we reached out to the communications person in the school, a very talented young man, Mr. Pickett. And we reached out to the PR company that represents our police department to get some advice. And I guess what it came down to is proactive versus reactive. And so what Mr. Pickett does, which I'm very impressed with, and the library does as well, is they go out to almost every organization in the town on a regular, ongoing basis, whether it's the seniors at the COA, whether it's the youth. We're planning a spring cleanup for the entire town. We're promoting it through the recreation department and through the schools. We're promoting a career day for the schools in the town that for the youth, for the students, that's being promoted through the library and through the schools. We don't have a person like that. I'll give you a good example of being proactive. As all of you know, we had an incident a year ago with our water supply. And when the story finally broke a month or two ago, a PR firm approached me and said, you know, you need to get out in front of this. This is going to be another Flint, Michigan, and the Boston Globe's going to be down here. And I was horrified at that. So Mark and I sat down with town council and we drafted a response. And we put it on the internet, we put it on the back page of the town crier, we put it on Facebook, factually driven. We got 4 calls, and that's all. Facebook, there were 4 posts, and then it died. Because we proactively, as soon as we learned who it was, what he did, why he did it, and terminated him, we put all the facts out online. That's proactive communication. And that's what Mr. Gito is presenting here and arguing, that we do a good job of putting things on the internet and on the back page of the Suburban, but it's not reaching everybody. So clearly we're not effective. And what it comes down to, based upon the professionals that Lou and Mark and I have been speaking with, is that we're just not reaching people where they are, as opposed to the schools and the library that are very effectively reaching their people.
John?
No questions.
Scott?
No questions.
To piggyback on a previous speaker, as soon as the pamphlet came out, I mailed it to my neighbors. And my trash day is Thursday. The trash is out today, and it's not bagged, it's not barreled, it's just on the ground. So yes, it is extremely frustrating.
And it won't be picked up.
Well, I was going to call my neighbor and tell her that, but, oh, maybe she's watching. Any members of our committee on the wall that would like to speak?
Any committee members online? Please raise your hand if you have a question or a comment. Madam Chair, I don't see anybody.
Any members of the audience wish to ask questions or speak?
Madam Chair, I know you're going to rule me out of order, but just in response to your comment, which was so appreciated, that will not be picked up. And if people call DPW tomorrow and report that, our inspector knocks on their door, says, take it off the street. You don't put it out till Thursday. And if you don't, we go get it by the end of the day. And what the bylaw allows us to do is charge them. Now, it's not a bylaw until town meeting passes it, but that's the plan. Thank you.
I suppose if I were a good neighbor, I'd warn her. Article 23. The petitioner isn't here.
Madam Chair, this is an article placed by Select Board Member Correa. Before I get into the substance of the article, I want to thank Mr. Correa. He took his time out on a 9-hour day on a Saturday, hot Saturday, this past summer, and went through every single piece of equipment at DPW and made a detailed list based upon his expertise, working with Paul Jaffoon, on what equipment is being utilized, what's not, what can go, what cannot can go. We expect to raise hopefully $250,000 in that auction. It's Mr. Correa's desire, and he makes a very strong argument that that equipment should be placed in a, not the equipment, pardon me, the proceeds up to $250,000 be placed in a revolving fund. So as unforeseen breakdowns happen, because much of our equipment there is old, as it happens, we don't have to go and draw down a very limited reserve, emergency reserve fund. We can use the money that was raised by this auction and by subsequent auctions to pay for unforeseen repairs. This fund is not to be used, it'll be amended on town meeting floor for new capital equipment purchases. That is going to happen through the traditional 4-year revolving capital fund. It's for unforeseen breakdowns, which will result in us not carrying a $75,000 line item in our operating budget for that purpose, for unforeseen breakdowns and investments. Now, why is this important? And I think Mr. Carrera makes a great case on this.
I think I would be remiss if I didn't say that Mr. Carrara,
pardon me. Thank you, ma'am. He makes a great point on this, that nobody, including Paul, will defend storing equipment in the yard well past its useful life and watch it depreciate like a stone. But when there's no mechanism to fix it until the next operating year, it stays there. And it's insured, it's licensed, it's registered, it's upwards of $60,000 a year in the equipment we're auctioning of licensing, registration, and insurance. But when there's no immediate fund to fix it and put it back into commerce, then it sits for years and years and years. And so this fund will allow us to make prudent decisions on operating repairs. But most importantly, it provides an incentive to dispose of non-utilized equipment because you've got a fund in place to repair it, and if you're not spending that money to repair it, it should go. And so it creates the right incentive as opposed to a perverse incentive. Remember, it's 18 months between the time we submit our operating budget and the time that we create another one. So it's a long time to foresee into the future. You need to have some sort of capacity to fix worthy equipment immediately as opposed to waiting 18 months. That's Scott's purpose. Thank you.
Paul, did you want to make any additional remarks?
I don't have anything to add. The town manager said it very well, I thought. But again, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Scott?
Yeah, I defer. Yeah, I think this is great, and I think it's a great idea. The stuff that's being auctioned, is that public somewhere?
Yes. I believe our procurement officer has posted it on her website, and she's publicizing it everywhere. We've hired a professional auctioneer. There's some nice equipment there, but equipment that hasn't rolled in several years, and we just don't have a use for.
John?
Thank you.
I have no questions.
Heidi?
Because I hang out with fellow Town of Stoughton nerds, this is actually a topic that has come up. I see the value in doing this. I kind of feel like you put the cart before the horse by having the auction before this article is being passed. But my biggest question is, so if DPW does this, which I see the value in that, but what's to keep any other department in Stoughton from also requesting a revolving fund or insisting on having a revolving fund?
It's a great question, and the question was also raised by the FinCom. There are going to be some proposed amendments on the floor, and the first amendment is that this is specific to used equipment at the DPW, not for the schools, not for any other department. It's for DPW that has the most rolling stock. Excuse me. In terms of the horse before the cart, you're 100% right. Scott was very frustrated by that because that is happening, that auction is happening prior to the certification of free cash. So the funds from that auction are going to go into the general fund. And then what the intent is to go to the annual and ask that the money from the proceeds of that auction be transferred from the general fund into the revolving fund. So it is a little backwards, you're right, due to timing.
Thank you.
Any members on the internet?
Any any committee members on the internet have any questions or comments, please raise your hand. Or if you're on the phone, just start speaking. Seeing no one, Madam Chair.
Any members of the audience, the public?
Seeing no one, Madam Chair, online.
Okay, I'll accept a motion to close the public hearing.
I second.
Someone has to say so moved. I
So
can't
moved.
make a motion.
She said.
So moved.
Okay, Heidi made the motion, John seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ilona?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Fran?
Aye.
It's unanimous. The public hearing is closed. Thank you for all the participants.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I must say, you run a great meeting. Thank you.
Well, this won't break any records. I think I did 20 articles in 29 minutes for the annual. Okay, what we're going to do is vote the articles as they were presented. And how I do this is somebody makes a motion, someone seconds, we discuss if there is any discussion, and then we vote. And because we have people on the internet, it'll have to be a roll call vote. And I guess I'll ask the moderator to keep track. I can't multitask like I used to. The first article that we heard.
Madam Chair, can I just ask, the options you have is what? Motion to recommend or motion to just refer, depending upon what you
Okay.
prefer?
Well, actually, the first one, we've already decided that for Article 9, that there'll be no vote because we understand the article will be withdrawn. Then we go on to Article 10, and that's the Porter Street property. Anyone have a motion?
I'm having a really hard time supporting this because I've been here since 2004 and that place has been a
So you'd like to
junkyard.
make a motion for approval?
I can't vote for us to purchase that for just under $400,000. Is that still what the article
Yes.
is? Because that's when I walked in tonight, so
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the same as what I
Does anyone
heard.
want to make a motion to approve?
Just for clarity, you can make a motion to approve, then vote against it, because you want to make a positive motion, isn't that right, Cynthia?
Yes, you make a positive motion, and someone seconds, we discuss it, and then you vote whichever way you want. We just can't vote to disapprove. Okay, so someone make a motion to approve?
I approve.
Second?
Second.
Okay, so now we have the discussion. Heidi, did you want to say anything?
I just have a hard time for the town to purchase. So number one, there's the parking issue, which I go downtown all the time. I never have a problem parking, but I'm also not a town employee. And so I understand the value of them parking closer to the building versus over in the municipal parking beyond the fire or the police station. But I cannot, in my right mind, say that, oh yeah, we should buy that for over $300,000 or whatever the valuation, 380 or whatever it was. Because I don't think it's worth that. And the things that were the comps were not dumps like 30 Porter. 30 Porter has been a site that's been neglected, and I can't support the town purchasing it for what they're saying. I would rather have it go under eminent domain or, what was the other one?
Condemn.
Condemned, because it looks like a condemned house.
John?
I vote to recommend to town meeting.
Pardon me?
Can I do that? Can I,
The motion is to approve, so do you want to approve or not?
approve the article.
Yeah.
I approve.
Scott?
So, forgive me, I'm new at voting on a committee. If I vote to approve, that's saying that it's going to go to the,
With town meeting, is going to think that we approve of the idea. So if you don't approve of the idea, you would vote no. You can vote yes, no, or abstain.
I would vote no on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ilona? Well,
My
is there
vote's no.
anyone on the internet, any members on the internet that have a discussion item before we vote?
This is Fran, I'm on Bruniti, I'm in precinct 6, and I would vote to move this forward. I would vote for it.
Okay.
I think it's not just a value to the employees. I work in town hall. I think that there's a value to the citizens that come in. I often hear that people have to drive around looking for a parking spot. And I think these properties this is really a unique acquisition. This is something that really doesn't come across very often. So I vote to approve.
Are we ready to vote? Okay, to clarify, the vote is to let town meeting know how we feel. And the motion is to approve. So if you're in favor of approval, you would vote yes. If you are not in favor of the purchase, you would vote no. Heidi?
No.
John?
Yes.
No.
Ilona?
No.
Fran?
Yes.
And Michael?
No.
And the chair votes no. What is the vote? Okay, so the motion loses 5-2.
2 yes, 5 against.
Right, so the motion is lost. Okay, hopefully we won't have that problem again. Next is number 12, the life safety equipment. Could I have a motion?
I vote to approve the emergency medical service life safety equipment.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just absolutely necessary.
Okay. Well, I have a personal interest. I've had 2 heart attacks. And I live in one of those houses with the narrow hallways. They have to take me out in a chair. So, and that happened with my dad, too. The population of Stoughton is not getting any younger. So, any more discussion? Okay, on the vote. Steve? Oh, Scott.
Yes. I vote on that.
John?
Absolutely.
Heidi?
Emphatic yes.
Ilona?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, that's unanimous. 7-0?
Yes.
Okay, next is 15. The fire alarm system upgrades at Cedar Hill. Could I have a motion?
Motion to approve Article 15 fire alarm system upgrades at Cedar Hill.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, I'm going to call for a vote. Scott?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Heidi?
Yes.
Ilona?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
I'm going to abstain. I am a member of the Cedar Hill Golf Course Operations Committee. So I guess that would be 6-0 and one abstention.
Correct. This is 601. Motion
Yes.
passes.
Okay, next is the the truck for the Public Works, the 2 rack trucks. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
It's one truck.
Wait a second.
It's one truck.
Oh, it does say truck, and pardon me, but obviously I'm hearing impaired as well. 1 rack truck to replace one. And you were about to make a motion, Scott.
Yeah, motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Okay, I'm going to give it to John for the second. Any discussion?
Yes. I thought this was for 2 trucks.
No, it's 1.
They said they currently have.
Oh, they have 2 trucks, so 2.
And one of them is
Okay,
always
all
broken
right.
down. Yeah, yeah.
One of them's going to retire.
Okay, okay, I got it.
I'm for this. There's times when I hear them talk about their vehicles, and they're just about as old as me, and it's
Yeah,
sad.
and the article does say purchase a truck. So everybody is correct except me. Any more discussion? Okay, sounds like we're ready for a vote. Heidi?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Ilona?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Mike?
Yeah.
And the chair votes yes. That's unanimous, 7-0.
Correct.
Okay, next is the roadway resurfacing. We discussed these together, but we vote them separately. So could I have a motion on roadway resurfacing?
Motion to approve.
Could I have a second?
Second.
John gave a second. Any discussion? Okay, ready for a vote? Heidi?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Ilona?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Michael?
Yeah.
And chair votes yes, so that's 7-0.
That's correct.
Next is the water main upgrades and improvements, Article 17. May I have an motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
After seeing all these water mains breaking in Boston and Quincy and different places, I'm glad we're being proactive and taking care of this stuff, because they're not getting any younger either.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is that there are water mains in Stoughton over 100 years old. And as was pointed out, it doesn't make sense to pave a road and then have the water main break. So the goal is to repair the infrastructure underneath the road and then repave, and hopefully it won't have to be repaved for 10 or 20 years. Most of these are side streets, so they don't get the heavy truck traffic that our main drag gets. Ready to vote? Okay, Heidi?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Ilona?
Yes.
Miss?
Michael?
Pardon me? Did she vote?
Yeah, she voted yes. Alona voted yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
And chair votes yes.
7-0.
Thank you. Now we go to 18, which is the, well, 18 and 19 would be the same as 9. We're not going to take a vote because these articles are going to be withdrawn. And we'll be going through the same discussion for the annual. So I'll save you a little time tonight. Article 21, municipal charges lien. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Scott?
Second.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Any discussion on the lien?
As much as I hate to see this on here, I understand it's like water and sewer and all that. But yeah, I see the value in it.
Yeah, does this include like property taxes?
Yes, that's already taken care of, and so is trash, sewer, and water. It's just that, well, originally, water and sewer, and they get, after a year, they go on to they're leaned onto your property tax. And this means that we can do the same thing with trash to the scofflaws. Because there are people that you give them a ticket or you charge them a fine, and basically they shrug their shoulders. So this allows their shoulders to be unshrugged.
Well said.
That's awesome.
Okay, ready for a vote? Heidi?
Yes.
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 Ilona?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes,
And chair votes yes. That's 7-0 again.
correct.
And now we're up to Article 22, implementing a Town of Stoughton communication program. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the article.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? I just want to meet the miracle worker that somehow is going to get these messages across. I don't even have a computer, and I don't have internet access, but I do read the Suburban Shopper, and I do come to the meetings. I don't have SMAC either. And yet, I get the message. And like a previous speaker, I try to spread the message. But other than going door to door and banging on the door, I don't know how else we can do this, but
We need Taylor Swift.
okay, any more discussion?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of this is like, we just need some good mailers. Honestly, the Suburban Shopper, I use that in my fire pit. That thing comes in and I don't look at it. I honestly.
And you're not alone.
It's kindling, basically. So, and, forgive me for that. But, if we had a nice glossy postcard or something that came in the mail that was like, hey, you're going to get charged for this, something like that seems easy enough to implement, right? And that's the thing with not having internet access. And I feel like our website is just not great still. So someone with computer access, I don't even care to look at it because it's too difficult, so.
Okay. The bad news was on tonight that postage is going up in January. And there's 10,000 dwellings in Stoughton. So it's an expensive solution, but it may be the only one. Ready for a vote? Okay, Scott?
Yes.
John?
This one's a tough one. I abstain.
You're going to abstain.
Abstain, sorry.
Heidi?
I vote yes.
Ilona?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Chair votes no.
Madam Chairman.
Michael,
I skipped Michael. I'm sorry, Michael.
That's a yes.
So what's that, 5 yes, 1 no, and 1 abstention?
yes, that's correct.
So motion does pass.
Does pass.
And drum roll, please. We come to Article 23, revolving fund from surplus equipment. Motion?
Motion to approve the article.
Second.
I'm a little confused on this one.
Yeah, well, discussion?
I just need more information on it.
You need more information?
I need more information on it from at town meeting.
Okay. Anyone else?
I feel like I don't know what I don't know. So
Okay.
I also feel like I need
Yeah.
more information, and I don't feel like, after I was thinking about my question, I don't feel like I really got that answered. Because I wonder, like, so I understand this is for DPW, but again, who's to say that another department is gonna wanna or insist on doing the same thing when they sell their printer or whatever? And so a part of me feels like this opens a can of worms, but I understand the value in, they have a vehicle that broke down, they put it out at auction, and then they can use that money to fix what they already have. But like I said, I feel like I don't know what I don't know, and there's something else going on here.
I agree.
Scott, did you have a comment?
I don't sense anything nefarious about it. I do get what are you saying about if we have a truck that needs to be repaired and the budget has not been approved for that, then it sits until it does till the money is available, right? So in that time, the waste, the rot, so to speak, on that piece of equipment is going to cost more and more and more, right? And then if it eventually needs to be replaced, then it kind of, and the cart before the horse analogy, I kind of see that as being proactive, to have that there, to be able to fix it and then to keep it so that we don't have to keep auctioning these things off. So, yeah, I mean, I'm in favor of it. It's like having an emergency fund like we should all have, right? So that's just my feeling on it.
Well, the town has an emergency fund. It's controlled by the Committee on Finance and Taxation. And it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. And in the Public Works budget, there is money for repairs, which may not cover all the repairs that you need to do. One of the arguments is that if it's an emergency with this fund, you could take the money out the same day. With the Finance Committee, state law requires that you have a 48-hour notice to the public. So it's up to people to decide, is there something that can't wait 48 hours? So that's something that everyone has to resolve in their own mind.
So what's keeping them from increasing their repair budget?
Pardon me?
So it makes me wonder what is going on that's keeping them from increasing their repair budget if their repair budget is not what it should be every year. And maybe part of it is that they have really old equipment, which I know we have amazing mechanics over at DPW, but you can only do so much with what's available. But again, I feel like, like you even saying there's an emergency fund and what can't wait 48 hours. Like, that's an example of I don't know what I don't know, because, why don't they go that route? So I struggle with this.
Yeah, I think that's sorry.
No,
Interrupt.
Scott?
No, I think that's a good point, right? And so how would this fund be regulated like that? So is it just, whoever, mechanic A says, I need this, this, and this, that money just goes automatically to this? Is that the thing?
It's not clear in the article, but I think probably the department head, which is Mr. Jaffoon, would make the decision. I don't think it would be down to the mechanic level. They'd have to bring it to the boss.
Yeah. But then it's not regulated then by...
No, it's not in the actual article. Anyone else with questions? Ready to vote? Scott?
If we want more information, or if we want this to go to town meeting, how do you vote?
If you wanted to go to town meeting, we're voting to approve, and it will go to town meeting.
Okay.
But we can note your concerns. There's a little note that sometimes we put under our recommendations.
Yeah, I would do that, yeah, and the concern would be the regulation of the
So,
funds.
but you
Vote
need
to
to vote
approve.
yes or no.
Yes, vote yes.
John?
I'm voting yes with, for more information.
Heidi?
I'll vote yes, but like Scott, like I want to know how this money is going to be regulated and accounted for so that it can be, we can track it and make sure that we're using it properly. Nothing against the leadership of DPW at all. But I would just, I don't understand if there's already a budget there, so.
Ilona?
My vote's the same, yes, with further information.
Fran?
I'll vote yes.
Michael?
Yes.
I'm voting no. So I guess that's 6-1. Despite the approval of the committee, members have concerns about who would control the fund and who would determine what purchases would come under the out of the fund. Does that cover everyone's concerns?
Yes.
Yes.
Did we make that clear so that you can write it down?
So that's going to go on the vote.
Yeah, that's a note.
Right.
I have the same concerns, and that's why I'm voting no. It just, I don't want anybody to have a bucket of money somewhere. They used to be called slush funds. I think the article should have been clearer, and I think my fellow members do too, just not to the point where they would turn it down as I would. Okay, I appreciate everyone who attended in person and virtually. I want to thank the moderator and our secretary for their attendance also, and I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ilona?
Aye.
Michael?
Yeah.
And Fran?
Yes.
And I vote aye. Thank you all so much for your patience.
You're welcome. Thank you, Cynthia.